Hey everyone, Calypso here. So, The Witcher 4 backlash is strong and kind of insane at this point. I'm sure plenty of you have already seen what's going on with it. Some are crying and saying it's woke, oh no, Ciri. Some are saying the opposite, oh no, it's not. I've already kind of laid out my own opinions on my original Witcher trailer breakdown video here. But I want to kind of address my own personal thoughts and feelings of how I think this should be done or what's possibly going forward, as well as some fan theories. So to start off with, I said this in my last video, I'm personally not a fan of Ciri. I don't like her character in the books. Her character in the game is okay, but I'm still just not a fan. I understand the big deal with her, and I understand that The Witcher 3 is a sort of closure for her story, and that's kind of why I want to talk about The Witcher 4 here. And that, I think choosing Ciri as the main character is a mistake, personally. Not just because I don't like her as a character personally, but because her story sort of wrapped up. Within The Witcher 3, we get closure for Geralt. He ends up being retired and making wine or whatever in Corvo Bianco, right? His story wraps up. Even before the expansions, his story is finished. He set out to do what he did. Ciri is now a Witcher in one ending, an Empress in another ending, or he dies in the third ending. So his story, regardless, in all three endings is wrapped up. He set out what he wanted to do. So it makes sense that he wouldn't be the main character in The Witcher 4. Ciri, though, I also feel that her story is wrapped up, and I don't think she should be the main character for The Witcher 4, but of course we are well past that point. I think how Ciri's story wrapped up is, again, it's the exact same thing. In the books, she goes through that arc. In the games, she also continues and finishes that arc, and of course, depending on which ending you choose, Empress, Witcher, or she died, possibly, her story wraps up. If she's dead or leaves, her story is wrapped up. It's done. If she becomes an Empress who in Blood and Wine might not even stay being an Empress, her story is wrapped up. And if she becomes a Witcher, she gets what she wants in a total fan service moment. Sorry if you can disagree with me all you want. It is absolutely fan service. I don't like the Witcher ending because it is so cop-outy and fan servicey. But that's really what it is. It's fan service, and again, her story is wrapped up. That's why I don't think she would be a main character for The Witcher 4, or should be anyway. I also have seen a lot of people talking about how they would want, create your own Witcher. Some would say straight from scratch. Others would say kind of like V from Cyberpunk 2077, sort of pre-established already, but you can pick your own little life path or backstory and roll with it. I also don't know how that would necessarily be for a game, but I know that they can't not milk their golden goose of the Witcher series or have these characters in there. Regardless of how you feel, it is very apparent that Ciri would be the next character, or at least a character in another Witcher game, not necessarily The Witcher 4, just because she's so prominent in The Witcher 3. Despite my personal grievances of that, I think their stories are wrapped up. As far as the whole Ciri being a Witcher thing goes, I also think that's kind of ridiculous. Mind you, I have not read the books in a while. I have read the first two short stories and Blood of Elves this year, and I'm going to reread the next books starting next year just to sort of get confirmation, so please correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I know, within the books, it is never clearly stated that women can't be Witchers. However, my reasoning for women can't be Witchers is because it's purely a genetic thing, a physiological thing, in that men physically are stronger than women. That is a scientific fact. That, I think, is why mostly men are chosen to take the Trial of the Grasses, an elaborate, grueling task of taking potions and everything and becoming mutants. If out of every 10 men, only 3 men survive taking the Trial of the Grasses, then what hope does a woman have taking the trial if most men die in the first place? And mind you, depending on what school you're at or whatever you're doing, 10 men could take the trials and 10 men could survive, so it really is sort of hit and miss. Personally, I think Sapkowski sort of separated the hierarchy of men and women in two different ways. On one hand, you have Witchers, who is, again, a mainly manly-focused job, according to, some of the books and the games and stuff as well, if you want to take the games into consideration. But mostly women are ending up being sorcerers as well. Yes, there are a lot of wizards and sorcerers instead of sorceresses in the Witcher universe, but if we look at the Lodge of Sorcerers, there was the Brotherhood or something. They didn't allow women. A bunch of women rebelled and became the Lodge of Sorcerers, controlling and mixing everything there. I thought personally that Sapkowski separated men being witchers and women being sorceresses for that very reason of men just simply are better at this job and women are better at this job, i.e. being witches. Witches are more powerful than witchers. They can't take the potions or anything, but they can cast better magical spells than witchers can. They are like magically stronger than witchers are, which is, I thought, was Sapkowski taking that commentary of women are clearly better doing this thing than men are, and men are clearly better doing this thing than women are. So I think Ciri officially taking the Trial of the Grasses, according to the writer of The Witcher 4, is kind of ridiculous. I know a lot of people have brought up that only children can really take the trial, and if they're an adult, they're going to die anyway, no matter what. So I guess that makes sense, but again, I don't have that much book knowledge under my belt because I don't really remember it, and I haven't written anything down, and I don't want to check the wiki right now. I also think you can look at the CD Projekt Red video games as just pure fan fiction. This is how I look at them, and you can disagree with me all you want, that's perfectly fine. I do not consider the Witcher games canon to the Witcher book series. They are very clearly separate entities. Geralt is still a snarky jerk in the games, but he is a lot more happy, and his character is almost superly different than it is in the books. I've gone over the books and my opinions on them already in this Witcher video that you guys can watch. But of course, I do still love The Witcher, despite the whole plagiarism copyright law thing in tow. The Witcher games aren't canon to the books, according to the author. Now, whether you feel that he's just salty that the games did better and that if the games didn't exist, nobody would know about The Witcher in the first place, that's fine, that's your take. But I personally, have to agree with him that the books are separate than the games, and you can just look at the games and anything related from CD Projekt's Red Witcher universe as fan fiction. They have a tabletop RPG that isn't really canon to the books at all, and there's a bunch of fan fiction-y bullshit in there as well. As far as Ciri's look goes, I don't see the backlash here. I think she just looks older. She looks like she put on some weight. And a good friend pointed this out to me, is that Witchers don't age rapidly at all, really. Geralt is about 100 within the games, and I think in the books, also in his 90s. Vesemir, his dad, is also in like his hundreds, maybe 200-300 years old, but he looks like he's in his 60s or 70s. So Witchers age very, very slowly. Ciri here could be 20-30 years later, which is my original thought, or it could even be 100 years later and she could be in her 90s now or something. But I definitely think this is getting totally blown out of proportion. I am personally, again, not a fan of this take. I think they should have gone in a completely different direction, but again, Geralt, Yennefer, Triss, Ciri, Dandelion, Zoltan, Vimy Vivaldi, all of these characters are the golden goose at CD Projekt Red now, and they are legacy characters, and you can't not have a Witcher game without these characters. It's that sort of Star Wars formula, where in Star Wars you have to have a wisecracking droid who bleeps and bloops and curses or something, but we don't understand it. You have to have a C-3PO style droid. You have to have the common love interest. You have to have your sort of farm boy hero's journey. There's a formula to Star Wars that Sam Witwer, longtime Star Wars fan and star killer among the Star Wars universe, has laid out pretty well in some of his own YouTube videos and everything about the Star Wars lore. There is a very clear formula to Star Wars that you have to hit those beats. Same thing for The Witcher. There is a very clear formula that you have to hit those beats of The Witcher. There's a really great YouTuber I would like to shout out called Folk Walk. He is, I believe, Polish as well, or Czechoslovakian. But a lot of his videos on The Witcher focus on that pure Slavic element, and he makes some pretty good points, even about this Witcher trailer. I highly suggest checking out Folk Walk. A link for his channel is going to be down below. What I personally would have liked to see in The Witcher 4 is a completely new direction. I think the golden age that everybody wants of The Witchers is, the stereotypical answer, and I have to go in that direction as well. I think seeing The Witchers in their golden age, or towards the ending of the golden age, right before everything got really fucked for The Witcher sex, would have been great. I know seeing a young Geralt would have been really fucking cheesy. I wouldn't have wanted that, but I know a lot of people would have if they went that direction. But I'm definitely in the firm wait and see camp before I start getting pissed off about whatever they're going to do. I already do have some grievances in that Ciri has officially passed to the Trial of the Grasses as an adult, which is kind of ridiculous. I've seen a lot of theories about her elder blood, of how, oh, she lost her elder blood powers when she did the White Frost in The Witcher 3, or, oh, she lost her elder blood powers when she underwent the Trial of the Grasses and it negated. But, like, how? She has elder blood. Ancient elven blood running throughout your bloodstream does not change whether you take the Trial of the Grasses or not, I don't think. And if it does, then that's a really, really, really stupid excuse to get rid of her Devil May Cry powers, essentially. Especially within one of the Gwent trailers, she fully embraces them and teleports behind a guard. A lot of people are already coming up with their own fan theories that, oh, the Witcher, the Ciri Witcher ending is the canon ending. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't know if I said this in my last video, but I think it'd be a huge mistake if they actually chose a canon ending for The Witcher 3. Hard-coding in an ending is just stupid when it comes to massive action RPGs like this. So I definitely think they should go the Witcher 3 route, where Ciri's sitting in a bathtub or she's at a bar, and she walks in and someone's like, oh gee, Ciri, what did you do for the ending of Witcher 3? And then she's like, well, I chose ending A, where I'm an empress, but I kind of go on holiday now and then and become a witcher. Or I chose ending B, where me and my dad go be witchers. Or I chose ending C, where my dad died, I was really pissed off, and then I decided to, start my own thing. Now, it is speculated that she's starting her own school, which is kind of ridiculous with the whole Lynx medallion. I personally think that's what's going to happen, as cheesy as that sounds. Because why the fuck not? Oh, I'm going to be my own witcher instead of breaking off from the wolf or whatever. Talked about some of that stuff before, but I personally think they won't do a hard canon ending because that would just piss a lot of people off. They would not like that, trust me. Personally, I'm not sure if I said this already, personally, I feel this is sort of fan service. Like, Ciri being the character in The Witcher 4 makes sense. It's the Witcher universe. She's part of the book, she's part of the games, blah, 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 right? A cop-out. This is cop-out, fan-service-y stuff. A lot of people's favorite ending is the Ciri becomes a Witcher ending and gets more bonding time with her father. I understand why people like that ending. I personally think the Empress ending is better because it doesn't make any sense that, this child who is born into wealth would somehow not embrace that sort of destiny of her becoming empress. It's something that she fights against her entire life. It only would make sense, to me anyway, that would be the canon ending if they were to canonize an ending of her being an empress. You go through your whole life going against this one thing that you want, only to realize that the thing that you want to do, which is help people stop monsters and just, try to bring peace to this war-torn, monster-filled land, is to become an empress and rule over it in a better way than all the other kings and queens have ever done. It makes sense from a character development standpoint that Ciri, instead of crying about being an empress, would sort of embrace it, grow up, and then, become more mature enough to become an empress and really enjoy it. And if not really enjoy it, take on that responsibility of being the empress of the known continent. So I personally feel this feels just absolute fan service, fiction-y fan service. Not in a bad way, but not in a good way necessarily either. Again, they could have done a million other things, but they chose, the safe possibility. They chose the safe thing to do, which makes sense considering how Cyberpunk 2077 absolutely flopped and they lost so many investors. So I am in the very much wait and see camp. Those are my thoughts so far on this whole Witcher 4 thing. I think it's kind of a mess and it's going to continue being a mess personally. And while I do have my grievances, we should really just wait and see before we start getting really, really, really mad at whatever they decide to do. There are a lot of veterans working from Witcher 3 to Witcher 4, so as far as the gameplay department goes, I don't have any worries there. I do hope they up the combat though. But I definitely think everyone just needs to calm down a little bit. But with all that said, I've been the Calypso. With all that said, I've been Calypso. I'll see you guys in the next one. Ve Victis, and toss a coin or a like to your Witcher here.